Hi everyone, and welcome to week 4 of the Google Ads course. This week we're going to be talking about bidding strategies and budget management. Bid strategies help you tell Google how to best spend your budget based on predetermined goals of your campaign. There's lots of different bid strategies within Google Ads, and I'm going to go through these now. Choosing a bid strategy is extremely important. Choosing the right Google Ads bidding type and implementing a solid strategy for adjusting bids is critical to driving your ad costs down. If you don't know what you're doing, you can end up wasting your entire budget on just a few clicks very easily by selecting the wrong bidding strategy. But when you make the right moves, you really can take your campaign performance to the next level. The first type of bidding strategy that you can use is manual CPC. Manual CPC stands for manual cost per click. This is the only manual option in Google Ads. Manual CPC bidding gives you more control over your bidding strategy, but more control means more time spent monitoring costs, and you have to continuously adjust everything on your own. You'll see a warning when you set this up, as you can see in the image here, that the campaign may result in low performance. But if your campaign has no data to go on or a very limited budget, this can be a good option. So this would stem back to your keyword research. You did some keyword research, you have a good idea of the cost per click around your keywords, and you're going to manually input those to assess the performance of those. You can see below here that in the red little box here, there's a sentence that says help increase conversions with enhanced CPC. Enhanced CPC gives you the ability to input a little bit of Google's smart bidding as well as your manual bidding. So this is a mixture of smart and manual bidding. You set the CPC you're willing to pay. So it's the same as manual CPC in the sense that you put in what you're willing to pay on a keyword. And then Google gives some flexibility around increasing it if it thinks there's a very high chance of conversion. So you can choose whether you want the algorithm to enhance your set bids based on a flat number of conversions or to optimize for the value of the conversions. So when you click help increase conversions with enhanced CPC, you will see two options underneath unless your account is very new or unless you don't have your conversions set up, but you'll see optimize for conversions or optimize for conversion value. This can be really beneficial if you're in the retail space where you want to optimize for the value of the purchase more so than the number of conversions if you have a range of products that heavily differ in pricing. Target impression share is the next type of bidding strategy that you can use. This smart bidding strategy is focused on brand awareness and helping you reach as many people as possible. Keep in mind that the percentage impression share is a goal and it's not just affected by your bids, but also the quality score of each individual Google ad group and the ad. So even if you aim for 90 or 100% of the impression share, you're very unlikely to reach that goal without really just spending too much. The impressions also don't guarantee that your ad is seen or clicked, since it can appear in a lower ad position as well. So this is about getting in front of as many people as possible. You want to essentially, if there's 100 searches, you're trying to say, well, I want to appear for 40%, 50%, 60% of those. The higher you go, the more difficult it is and the more expensive it can be, but you really just want to try get into those top positions as frequently as possible. This can be a phenomenal bidding strategy if you're looking at brand awareness, absolutely. But equally, it can be really good if you have a very niche keyword and you just want to dominate the searches in that field. So I've seen it work really well in that scenario as well. So there's not many people bidding on it. It's just one of those keywords that may have fallen through the loop for your competitors, and you can double down on it with target impression share so that you're always in those top 3 positions for a very large percentage of those searches. So check it out, but it isn't the first and foremost one I would go for, especially if you're more focused on conversions or conversion value. Target cost per acquisition is a bidding strategy you can use if you want to optimize for conversions. If driving conversions are your primary goal for the campaign, selecting target CPA bidding will focus on trying to convert users at a specific acquisition cost. So say, for example, you have a $10 margin or you can only spend $10 maximum for a lead, you can put in that $10 as your target cost per acquisition in the hopes that it doesn't go higher than it. What I usually tell people to do is look at your actual target cost per acquisition and try to remove 20% off that before putting it into Google, because sometimes this can fluctuate. It just endeavors to do its best to get you your conversion at that cost. So if you go in a little bit lower, at least you have a little bit of wiggle room there. With this method, Google Ads will automatically set your bids on each campaign based on your cost per acquisition. While some conversions may cost more, others may cost less, and they will even out and align with your acquisition costs. Target cost per acquisition bidding can be complicated if you don't know what your acquisition costs are. So you need to figure that out first. But your cost per acquisition is simply the amount of money you can afford to spend to acquire one customer. You can see it here when it's in the drop down of bidding options, it's highlighted as target CPA. You can also look at target return on ad spend, or target ROAS. Target ROAS is the bidding strategy where Google Ads will set your bids to maximize the conversion value based on the return you want from your ad spend. And this number is percentage based, which makes it a little bit confusing. But essentially, it's your sales divided by your ad spend, multiply 100%. That will give you what you want your target ROAS to be. So in other words, if you want $5 in sales for every $1 spent on adverts, in other words, a 5-to-1 return, your target ROAS would need to be 500%. So it takes a little bit of maths to get your target ROAS right, but you can calculate it a little bit easier. If you have, say, 8-to-1, then it would be 800%. If it's 9-to-1, it would be 900%. So you can set that target ROAS. When you set this up first, it will give you what it thinks is going to be the best target ROAS for you. So if you have some historical data of conversions and your conversion values within Google Ads, you will see a recommended percentage target ROAS based on your past data. So you can go by that one, but typically what I would do is increase it a little bit just to aim the platform a little bit higher and try to get the most out of your money here. This is a really beneficial one if you are working to tight goals where you're like, I absolutely need to return X amount for every $1 I spend. So it's a great way to manipulate the ads to try focus very heavily on your return on ad spend. You can also use maximize conversions. Maximize conversions is one of the simplest bidding strategies that Google Ads offers. Using the maximum daily budget that you set, so say you said, I want to spend $50 a day, Google will automatically run your bidding for you and attempt to get you the most conversions for your money. So whatever budget you set, the goal Google has is to get you as many conversions for that. For example, if your daily budget is $50, Google will spend it as wisely as possible to find the most conversions for that $50. If a single conversion is going to cost you that $50 though, Google isn't going to bid on it for you. So before you select this bidding method, make sure to check that you will spend your daily budget amount at a reasonable level that you're willing to spend. So look at your previous conversion costs and assess those before you implement a budget around your maximize conversion strategy. This is what it looks like here in the drop down, and essentially it's very simple. There's nothing additional you need to add here. It is just about saying to Google, here's my budget, get me as many customers, purchases, sales, leads as possible for my budget. The next one is maximize conversion value. This works very kind of similarly to target return on ad spend. It's like a mixture of target return on ad spend and the maximize conversions. So what you're trying to do in this instance is maximize the conversion value. So you are saying to Google, try to maximize my return on ad spend. So if I give you $50, Google, you're going to try get me the most money back possible for that $50. The difference is that you don't have to specify a target return on ad spend or return on investment in this instance in comparison to target return on ad spend. You just are letting the algorithm try to maximize all of your ad spend to the best of its ability. You can see it here in the drop down. It's just called maximize conversion value. And this is a really good one, especially if you are your ad account is a little bit newer, if you haven't got a huge amount of experience with Google Ads before, I find this one very beneficial to dip your toe in the water. Maximize conversions and maximize conversion value can both be really, really beneficial. You just need to make sure that your tracking is set up accurately and your tracking is synchronizing nicely with the conversion value feeding into Google Ads there as well. So this is a fantastic strategy or bidding strategy. I've used it a lot across different accounts and I find it really beneficial. Then you really need to be thinking about choosing the best bid strategy for your campaign. So out of all of the different bidding types, it all comes back to your campaign structure and your strategy for what you want. You need to assess a few things. It all depends on your campaign goals, your budget, and the volume of searches. So this is different for every campaign. This is different for every advertiser, but every campaign you choose should carefully select a bidding strategy based on your desired outcomes. Your campaign structure and the goal you select will help you decide on the best bidding strategy. So if your campaign structure is search ads and I want sales, then it's a natural flow into you saying, well, search ads, sales, I want conversions. But then it's a matter of deciding, okay, well, do I want to try get a target return on ad spend? Do I just want to get as many conversions as possible? Do I just want to get as much conversion value as possible? So there's lots of different options once you make that first initial assessment. So if your campaign goal is conversions, if your goal on a specific Google ad campaign is conversions or driving traffic to your website or store with the sole purpose of turning them into a sale, consider these bid types first. So maximize conversions, target cost per acquisition, and target return on ad spend are great options. If you are a new account and you're finding it difficult to use one of these options because you have limited data and Google hasn't learned an awful lot about your customers yet, you can use manual CPC with enhanced. I would always recommend using enhanced CPC if you're going to add a manual bid. This will just always give you that little bit of flexibility with Google to say, okay, Google, if I am bidding $1, but you think there's a very strong possibility that the conversion will come in for $1.10 or $1.20, then fluctuate that bid accordingly in that specific scenario. And that can be really beneficial. Otherwise, you will always be missing out on these conversions that you can't just manually go in and change in the moment. And this is a live scenario, so you always need to be monitoring it so heavily if you're using manual CPC. But with enhanced CPC, that removes some of that legwork for you, and it will start gathering your data, and eventually you could probably switch to one of the others. I would always be split testing as well if you're going to change bidding strategy. If your campaign goal is website traffic, and if you want to concentrate on driving more traffic to your site with goals other than just converting, I would choose between maximize clicks and manual CPC bidding. Now, we didn't go through maximize clicks at the start, but it is essentially the same as maximize conversions, only it's maximize clicks. So you're trying to get as much website traffic as possible. You're just trying to get as many clicks through to the website as possible. So these two options are best in this scenario. Again, with the manual CPC, I would also consider the enhanced CPC here if you want some of that traffic to start converting a little bit better. But overall, maximize clicks is the best opportunity here. So this is about anytime you see maximize before it, it's either maximize clicks, maximize conversions, whatever that maximize is, all Google is going to do is take your budget and get you as much of either clicks or conversions as possible for that budget amount. So in this scenario, if you maximize clicks and you have a $50 budget and each click is going to cost you $1, we'll say you're going to get 50 clicks through. Now that will fluctuate from search term and all of that, but you'll get a good amount of traffic. You'll get the best amount of traffic for your money typically with maximize clicks. If your campaign goal is brand awareness alone is typically a less common goal on the search network in particular. But there are a few bidding tactics to use for maximum branding. And the first and foremost is the target impression share bidding that we talked about earlier. And that is all about trying to get your advert in that top position for the highest percentage of searches possible. So that could be a great way to really maximize your branding in the search adverts. A great example of using this would be if you are forced into having a brand campaign. Now, sometimes I am reluctant to have a brand campaign. What I mean by a brand campaign essentially is bidding on your own brand name. So sometimes bidding on your own brand name can actually just cannibalize your organic searches. So you're going to end up with lots of clicks through. If no one is competing on your brand name, for example, then actually you're just paying to be at the top and potentially already in the number one position anyway. Now, it's good if you have a special offer or a special message and you want that to relay in the advert above it. You want that messaging to be seen in the Google search as well. But as a general rule, sometimes you have to be very careful with bidding on your own brand name because you might just be paying for lots of clicks you would have gotten anyway. So just bear that in mind. But this can be a very good strategy for effectively doing that at a little bit of a lower cost to ensure that your brand name is secure, being not competed against to a massive degree. So you can use target impression share bidding to really strategize around your brand name. In the other side of the platforms then, when you're looking at video, which is YouTube ads and display networks, you can use CPM bidding essentially, which is your cost per thousand. Unfortunately, you can't use that in the search ads, but there are, like, you can bid for a cost per thousand views or a cost per thousand people you get in front of essentially. So those are two additional options there that you have for YouTube and display, which are probably more aligned with brand awareness goals typically than the search ads. So just bear that in mind as well. I often get asked, when should I use manual bidding and when should I use smart bidding? So there's two main factors to determine if smart or automated bidding will be a viable option. One is the quality and detail of your conversion data. If you have had a Google ad account for a period of time, you've had your tracking set up right, there's conversions and conversion value feeding into that account, then you have good quality and detail in your conversion data. Also, the volume of your campaign in terms of traffic and conversions. Have you had a lot of traffic and have you had a lot of conversions? The more you have of those, the better positioned you are for smart bidding, because the trackers and Google has learned a whole pile more about your customers than in any other scenario. So those two things tend to be stronger prerequisites for effective smart bidding than any other form of bidding strategy. Manual CPC or enhanced manual CPC, that can give you a little bit of, I know it's a little bit manual, but at the start that can help you start building your conversion data a little bit better so that you can start switching into the smart bidding options. You need to ensure that your tracking is accurate if you're opting for a smart bidding option. If you have your tracking set up wrong, and I'll give you an example here. Say, for example, your conversion tracker was on every page on the website. Google in that instance would believe that it's getting you multiple conversions on every click through, and it could burn through your budget extremely quickly within a few clicks. So that's one example of just burning through budget on smart bidding if you don't have your tracking set up accurately. So that's extremely important. You might also be restricted from some smart bidding options if you're a new account until your tracking learns a bit more. So you'll see sometimes if you try to do a target cost per acquisition or some of the target ROAS or things like that, it'll spit back an error message at you saying you don't have enough data for this yet. So you may be forced into the manual bidding options or the maximize conversions or maximize clicks options for a little while you're gathering enough data to leverage some of the other bidding options. That being said, though, it's very difficult to assess what bidding option is going to work best. And there is an experiment feature in Google Ads, and we'll be talking about that as well. But you can test different bidding strategies against each other to assess which one is going to perform best for you as well. So this is one area that you can always be testing and learning, and you can be always finding out more in terms of what is going to perform best for you and your account. Here are some best practice tips when you're choosing a bid strategy. Select a bidding tactic based on your campaign goals and volume instead of randomly deciding an option. So I often see people say, oh, I think that one looks best, but just think about your campaign goals. Think about what you talk about internally. Do you talk about acquiring customers from a target cost per acquisition point of view? Do you look at things from a target return on ad spend? Do you just want to test the platform out and get as many conversions as possible? Do you want to look at how to get as many, the best conversion value possible? So you need to be thinking about that as well when you're selecting your bidding tactic. You can also test different bidding strategies with A/B tests for a few weeks to see how performance changes. Always do this step if you're changing bidding strategy. One of my biggest pet peeves is that Google ad account managers frequently ring, and they will ask you to change bid strategy on the phone sometimes. That is typically something I would stay away from unless you were saying, I'll put it in a split test. I always say to them, I'm going to do a split test with it. I've jotted it down. I'm going to go off and do that later. Typically they will press for the change on the phone. But I will always split test it to make sure that it's actually a beneficial change on the account, because changing bid strategies can derail campaigns very quickly as well. You want to measure your key performance indicators like conversions, conversion rate, cost per conversion, conversion value, and all of those. Always stick with the one with the better results. That is going to be, these strategies tend to work over a long-term period of time as well. They don't typically change frequently. Once you do your testing and you have a good gauge on which one is going to perform best for you, typically it doesn't really change significantly for over periods of time from what I've seen. Now that can vary depending on businesses and their goals, and if their goals change or if their product or service changes as well. So external factors can impact it a little bit more than the Google ad changes itself. Don't just jump from strategy to strategy hoping for the best results. That is typically the worst thing to do, because as you jump, each time you're actually taking yourself 3-4 steps back just to get a half step forward, because you're pulling all of what the platform has learned and you're switching strategy. So now it's relearning and optimizing a completely different way. So jumping from strategy to strategy isn't the best tactic when finding the best bidding strategy for your business. If you don't have the right keywords, you don't have good ad groups, you don't have good ads, and you don't have a good landing page, no bidding strategy is actually going to help you in this scenario. Sometimes it's actually a problem outside of these things where your ad isn't incentivized enough to click on in comparison to the competitor ads that are coming up for a particular keyword. Your ad copy isn't matching with the keyword, your landing page is slow, or your landing page isn't optimized for a conversion. All of these other elements can feed into a bidding strategy not working that could potentially otherwise work if some of those elements were aligned better with your campaign. So make sure to bear that in mind as well. You can also use bid automations to make your life easier. So monitoring bids is crucial in maximizing conversions on the cheap, but being on Google Ads all day isn't realistic. You can use rules on Google Ads, so you can set up notifications or pause campaigns or adjust bids without ever going into the account. So in tools and settings and under rules is where you will find those rules. Here are some examples of rules you can set up. For instance, do you want to be notified when cost per clicks go sky high? You can do that. How about when CPAs are too low and you want to skyrocket bids? You can do that too. A great basic rule that I set up for most people is to increase the daily budget automatically if you're getting conversions at incredible value. So making the assessment of, oh wow, if it goes below this amount, then we can really double down. And then if it goes above X amount, then we have to bring it back. So you can set up these rules to fluctuate your budgets according to the value that you're getting in return. And that makes sense for a lot of different accounts as well. You can also use a portfolio to manage multiple campaigns. So there is a portfolio bidding strategy and focus on return on ad spend. The algorithm will automatically try to maximize spend between campaigns to win the keywords and clicks that are really delivering results. So this can be really beneficial if you have multiple campaigns, but you want to distribute your budget effectively across those campaigns with the goal of getting the best return on ad spend. Portfolio bidding can also be useful if a single campaign on its own has limited data when it comes to conversions or traffic for smart bidding. And to create a new portfolio bid strategy, you can just simply click use a portfolio strategy link in the bidding options. You can also do a lot to determine your budget. To determine your budget, you must first review a few different pieces of information. First and foremost, you need to review your keyword research and determine your goals and objectives. So when you have your keyword research done, you should have a lot of data around what these different keywords are actually going to cost you. Then from there, you can assess, okay, well, if the absolute maximum cost of a keyword is X and I need 100 people to convert one, then it's going to cost this. So you can do a little bit of maths like that and then determine your goals and objectives. So do you want traffic, sales, conversions? What do you want from that budget? What are your objectives of the campaign? You can then assess the cost your business can allocate to achieve these goals and objectives strategically. And then always be working on the improvement of your ad copy, of your landing pages in order to improve your quality score and decrease your costs. Now, we're dedicating an entire week here as well to the ad copy and landing pages side of things because it's such a crucial element of bringing down your budget costs and also improving your quality score. Your quality score is a significant element of your costs here. And I'm going to show you this here a little bit in detail. So your price equals the ad rank of the person below you divided by your quality score plus 1 cent. So essentially what is happening here is the quality score heavily impacts what you're going to pay for a click essentially. So you can see here advertiser 1, they've said I only want to bid $2. They have a quality score of 10 out of 10. Therefore their ad rank is 20. And their actual cost per click is going to be 161 because their quality score is so strong. In contrast, advertiser 2, who's spending $4 on the same click, only has a quality score of 4 out of 10. Therefore, their ad rank is 16. And in this instance, they end up paying $3.01 for the click. So that's a deep contrast for the same click essentially. So your quality score is a hugely significant part of driving your budget costs down. So that's why we're going to be dedicating that full week to ad copy and landing pages because those are the key elements that bring your quality score up. You can see here then with advertiser 3, they're bidding even higher, $6, but their quality score is even lower, 2 out of 10, 12. Again, here they're bidding $4. So it's what the other advertiser was going to bid plus 1 cent. Same with advertiser 4 here, $8, awful quality score. They're going to end up paying the highest cost per click in this instance. So the key to reducing your costs effectively, especially over time, is your continuous working towards the improvement of your quality score. You can see here that that is a significant factor in reducing your costs. So it's hugely important as well. And we'll be going through that in a huge amount of detail in the ad copy and landing page week as well. Thanks everyone for joining us for week 4 of the Google Ads course. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, feel free to pop me a message in Slack or alternatively reach out to me at jen@growthuniversity.io. See you next week.